Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Senator Adam Schiff might be in a little bit of trouble. Oh boy, it couldn't happen to a more deserving person. We'll get into that. First, I want to welcome on Matt Marsden, of course, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, along with Eric July, BlazeTV contributor and founder of Rippaverse Comics. What? Is he's cheesing?
He cheesed.
Cheese, I know.
Totally cheesed.
He's cheesing for us. By the way, you can find him at Matthew D. Marsden on YouTube. You can find him, Young Rippa59, also on YouTube. Also, Rippaverse.com. Make sure that you check out his comics. Got a really, really great thing going on. In fact, I don't know why he still bothers showing up here. But
he turned up in a gold car.
yeah, it was just
like a solid gold car.
Gold, yeah. Yeah.
It made such a noise.
You had to pull it all the way in the building, and then they put like the tarp over it so that no one touched it. Mm-hmm.
But when you make your tires out of solid gold, it's silly.
It's not efficient, Eric. We need to talk to you about your efficiency. Okay. So just listen.
Oh, that's awesome.
When I become a multimillionaire, I won't get gold tires. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know if you guys saw this, Adam Schiff. Listen, sometimes you wonder with President Trump is like, what is he thinking when he goes and posts these social media posts just randomly, just blasting people? And you're like, are all your ducks in a row? Because if so, this is going to be epic. This is going to be spectacular. He posted on Truth Social, I have always suspected shifty Adam Schiff was a scam artist. And now I learned that Fannie Mae's Financial Crimes Division have concluded that Adam Schiff has engaged in a sustained pattern of possible mortgage fraud. Adam Schiff said that his primary residence was in Maryland to get a cheaper mortgage and rip off America when he must live in California because, of course, he was a congressman from California. I always knew Adam Schiff was a crook. The fraud began with the refinance of his Maryland property on February 6, 2009, and continued through multiple transactions until the Maryland property was correctly designated as a second home on October 13th, 2020. Mortgage fraud is very serious, and crooked Adam Schiff, now a senator, needs to be brought to justice. I want to get into this long line of Democrats pretending like they're the good guys when they are, of course, the real criminals. But in particular with Adam Schiff, because, he says, and rightfully so, it's the same thing with Letitia James. It's like, if you are a senator in California, like you have to live in California, your primary residence has to be in California. There would be no reason for you to designate a primary residence somewhere else. If you did, that would mean that you were not qualified. You would not be allowed to be a congressman or a senator from that state. And so there's further proof that he was committing fraud when he claimed Maryland as his primary residence. He received a homeowner's tax exemption on his Burbank home because he also claimed it as his primary residence. So which one is it, Adam? Which one is it, you little pencil neck? Which one is it? It couldn't happen to a more deserving person. The man who went on MSNBC and CNN for how many, 2 years, upwards of 2 years. He'll probably still go on there today, literally today, and tell you about how Donald Trump was engaging in Russian collusion. He was the guy who said, remember, he weaponized the Intel panel, the Intel committee that he was on. And he said, oh, no, you don't understand. We have seen evidence. You guys haven't seen it yet. I'll tell you, we've seen it all. I can't tell you what it is. I don't have receipts for you. I can just tell you we've seen it. And I can tell you that Donald Trump was colluding with Vladimir Putin in Russian collusion. Just trust me, bro. That was him. And it all ended up being a lie, a total lie. And he was never held accountable or responsible for the lies that he told. The lies that he told, these were intentional, malicious lies, claiming that he saw evidence that he never actually saw. But you look at how egregious that is, and then you factor into it, guys, that Adam Schiff is not even the only, he is not even the only, major Democrat voice who has just broken the law, who just goes around like the law doesn't apply to them until, oopsies, they're caught. Want to get into some of these other ones. By the way, make sure you are subscribed to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered here on YouTube. Smash the like button, or you can gently tap it. We all appreciate a gentle tapping from time to time. You can also comment. It'll help us in the algorithm, which we all know is stacked against us because we believe in things like low taxes and small government. So I talk about Adam Schiff. I mentioned Letitia James. This sounds very similar to what Letitia James has been accused of. Back in April, the DOJ's director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency accused her, a New York attorney general, of wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, and false statements to a financial institution because, again, she was required by law to maintain primary residence in New York because she was the AG of that state. But she wanted to buy a $240,000 house in Virginia, and she needed, you got to go get a mortgage, got to go get a loan. And so she claimed residency in Norfolk, Virginia to obtain a nearly $220,000 mortgage loan at a favorable rate. And then she also purchased property with her father as a co-signer. But by the way, listed him as her husband from 1983 to 2000. What is it with Democrats? And you got Ilhan Omar that's like, yeah, maybe I married my brother. Maybe I didn't. What does it matter? We're from Somalia. And then, you've got Letitia James like, oh, did that say husband? I'm so sorry. I thought it said father. It was a, honest mistake. It's on me. Have you seen my eyes? They look two different directions. I couldn't read it properly. And so you have the Democrats that are so dirty. They're just constantly accusing Donald Trump of basically the same thing while they are the ones that are out there doing it. Not to mention Nancy Pelosi, who has made a fortune over the years being a congresswoman, just being a lowly $175,000 salaried representative over in Congress. And, it just so happens that her husband has made millions and millions of dollars on very successful, convenient trades in the stock market. Like, say, March 2021, he exercised call options on Microsoft, buying 15,000 shares days before Microsoft just happened to win a $22 billion defense contract from the United States government. Isn't that great? I mean, it's just really lucky timing. I'm sure he didn't have any inside information. July 2022, he bought $5 million in Alphabet stock just mere weeks before the CHIPS Act, which allocated $52 billion to U.S. semiconductor manufacturing. How about July 2024, when Pelosi sold around $500,000 to $1 million in Visa stock just a few months before the DOJ filed an antitrust lawsuit? Then you have Bob Menendez, former Democrat Senator Bob Menendez, and his wife, who were convicted on a bribery and corruption scheme. You may remember him as he was the guy who they were like, why do you have gold bars in your closet in your jacket pockets? And he was like, do you not do that? Is that
Eric?
That's not, yeah.
Eric does.
Eric does.
Gold bars that I just pull out.
What you guys don't know is that when Eric took off his jacket when he got here, he was like, don't mind the heaviness of the jacket. It's gold. It's just full of gold. So unless you're Eric July, you don't have gold bars laying around in your closet, okay?
Oh, man,
but
good.
Bob Menendez does. So what are you doing? What kind of business deals are you doing with Qatar and Egypt, Eric?
None. I don't think those guys know I exist. Unless they want to buy some comics. I mean, we'll ship them over there. I'll gladly ship.
By the way, I think he probably will take gold as a form of payment. I would.
Absolutely. I'm all precious metal. So, yes, 1,000% gold for comics. Hit me up, Qualia. We'll set you up, bro. We'll set you up.
So you have Bob Menendez with the gold bars in his closet like, that's just, that's normal. You guys don't do that. And he was later convicted on 16 counts, including 2 counts of bribery, 3 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of extortion, obstruction of justice, acting as a foreign agent, and 7 counts of conspiracy. And I did mention her. Let's just go ahead and mention one more time Ilhan Omar, who married her brother, allegedly. And she married her second husband to get him immigration papers into the United States. And she married her brother. It was her brother is the thing, which is a little weird, a little gross, by the way. Never been charged with immigration fraud. Never been charged with anything.
Maybe under ice, they might have another look at her.
I think maybe they should. And I would be remiss if I just didn't mention one more for you, gentlemen. Let's just take a trip down memory lane and remember one Anthony Weiner, who There's never been anyone named so appropriately. And he pleaded guilty in 2017 to transferring obscene material to a minor. He was, it was a sexting scandal, sentenced to nearly 2 years in prison, and fined $10,000, placed on supervised release, and required to register as a sex offender. By the way, was previously married to Huma Abedin, who has since gone on to marry George Soros' son, which is just a strange little 7 degrees of separation game there. But the point is, these people have a long and sordid history of being they are the actual bad guys. They are the actual criminals. They have a very long history of accusing us of what they've been doing. And wouldn't it be just chef's kiss to have actually something happen to Adam Schiff? I mean, I was shocked when I saw this True Social post. I'm like, is something actually going to happen with this? Does he know enough to know that something is going to happen? Because why is he blasting this out there for everyone to see if he didn't know that there was some sort of ramification that could happen to this man for very clear mortgage fraud?
Unfortunately, the left doesn't care whether or not it's true what they say, and then our side has to be absolutely spot on with what they say. Otherwise,
notice the amount of times that I had to say allegedly in there so that we don't get sued.
Yeah.
To your point.
Yeah. And the left can do whatever it wants, and there's no ramifications for them. But I think that with Trump saying something like that, he knows. And there's no way that Schiff, if this did happen, he can't get out of it because he's representing an area, which I know very well, Burbank, that...
Is he really Burbank?
Yeah. It's really weird the way that they carve Burbank up. It's very, very strange. But again, it's like these people are psychopaths because it's almost like the more guilt they have, the more they go out and the more they attack Republicans and make these outrageous statements. It's almost as if don't look behind the curtain, just carry on. Look at them, look at them, look at them. And I think that's what happens. It's really bizarre to me that he would go out and say such things. Like, we all know, obviously we knew at the time actually that the Russiagate thing was bullshit. Everybody knew that. But he went on. But Tucker Carlson's interview with him is absolutely unmatched to this day, where he just slapped him around. But like you said, Sarah, I don't know why it's these prominent Democrats. I don't know whether it's because we get the attention and we find out because they're prominent Democrats, or they're prominent Democrats because they pursue, this course of action. I mean, you can see it with Jasmine Crockett, right? She's getting more and more outrageous with the things that she's saying, and she's getting more and more of a platform, unfortunately. So I don't know which came first.
Yeah. Yeah, the chicken or the egg.
Yep. They're all mental. I mean, they're all egotistical. And here's the thing. The American people have had enough of this now, and they want justice. I've said it over and over. One of the things that I knew when I was growing up in the UK is that Americans are good people. They're essentially good people, and they do not like being taken advantage of like this. And it has to end. I mean, to which end is it as far as people taking advantage of the country?
Right.
I mean, they're doing it in so many different ways. Even if you look at the immigration, why are they bringing immigrants in? They're bringing immigrants in so they can get votes, so they can keep their job, right? Every single step of the way, it's about leveraging the country, their power in the country to get what they want. And they don't care about anybody else, right? Whether it's immigration, whether it's deals, whether it's backhand deals with it's got to end. It has to end.
I know. Well, and by the way, to your point really quickly, I think that one of President Trump's biggest mistakes, my personal opinion, I don't know if you guys agree, one of his biggest mistakes in his last term was telling people that he was going to lock Hillary Clinton up and then not doing it.
Oh, yeah. That
should have done it.
That was a critical error for sure. But no, I already assume, because I call the Congress a band full of criminals anyway. So I think just the general nature of government, especially at the federal level, it lends itself to this type of behavior. And that's unfortunate because we want to believe that everybody that's there is, of course, there to serve the people that they're supposedly representing. Okay, that's the idea of it. At least that's what makes it pretty for us, and why we allow these people to just operate and do what they want, despite, I'd argue, really they just lie in your face. But the reason why that is such an attractive thing, being a member of Congress especially, is because of those types of benefits. It allows you to skirt certain things that regular individuals just cannot do, right? We don't have that. We don't have that leverage. We don't have, there's no vote where I can say, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type of situation with some, mega corporation, or and Pelosi is rather the most egregious if you look at how long she's been in power and how much money she has made. She is not just rich, she's filthy rich. Yeah. Like, she is filthy rich. We know it's BS, right? It's like, what are we going to do about it, though? And even with, like, some of the spending efforts, and I hate to bring us back to that because, they're all in the cahoots with each other. But even something like that, which negatively impacts the American people, which we go up there, we say, stop doing it to the degree that you've been doing it, right? Let's get this under control. We don't say that just because, you balancing a budget is beneficial because reasons. No, it's like we understand that the money's jacked up. We understand the inflationary issues, and you contribute to that. In fact, when you lead with that particular issue. So the problem, though, is with their position, they can shield themselves away from any of those ramifications. Where we might feel it at the grocery store, they can vote, and they always do this, vote to give themselves raises. They can do that, right? Like, can you imagine that? Like, we'll put it up for a vote.
No. Term limits. Let's vote for term limits. Yeah. Of course, they're never going to vote for it.
Exactly, right? It's like it doesn't benefit. Like, it's more of like self-preservation, kind of at that point. So I think this is just the nature of government. It has got so out of control, and I think when seeing things like this, or seeing even what's happening right now with the whole Epstein stuff, I think it does show what you're saying, that the American people, I think, are like over this, and they need to get control of it or risk something else happening, right? Because people, I think, only for so long are just going to be, definitely in this uber digital age, access to information it's in abundance, right? So we get this things just lightning fast, which we didn't that's a relatively new phenomena in America's case, where stuff is just funneled to us all the time. Number one, we're always in the know, and we see things. It's so blatant where you can't just lie to someone and say, for example, these Epstein files, they never exist. Like, or there's no client list. Like, wait a minute, the indictment said there was known and unknown individuals. You can't just say. You can't do that anymore. Whereas to maybe 10, 15 years ago, you could say something like that and it was like out of sight.
Well, part of it was, Eric, is that they'd say something to be printed in a newspaper, and then someone would send a letter into the newspaper. Now you get a video response from somebody, and all of a sudden, I made a video the other day. It went to 250,000 people like that. Yeah, right. So they can't hide anymore. To your point, they can't do it. And I also think that, again, coming from a monarchy, the one thing that Americans hate is the aristocracy and a monarchy. And what you've got is essentially an aristocracy and a monarchy, because what they do, to your point, Eric, is they keep getting elected, and while they're elected, they're never going to be held accountable because there are too many people investing in them. And I'm a big believer. I know some people argue against term limits. I'm a very big believer in term limits. And listen, even if someone was to say, okay, well, you're going to be in Congress. Part of the perks are you're going to have access to or influence in certain realms. You can kind of understand that because that's the way that power works. But when you start doing things like, I want immigrants in here, I'm going to go and fight for illegal immigrants over American citizens, that's when people are like the Senator Padilla from California. That guy just drives me insane. And again, it's so transparent. Oh, look at your name. You're Hispanic descent. Oh, you're going out to fight for the illegal immigrants, which, by the way, as we said the other day, they are rapists. They are rapists. There are murderers, and they've got child labor. And so don't tell me that everything that you are doing is benevolent, because it's not. And you are undermining the people of America. It's because they've become, Eric, it's incremental. Let me just do this. let me just do that. And they go unchecked, they go unchecked, they go unchecked. And now they're just like so emboldened. They're like, nobody can do anything. And by the way, when they get caught up, when Doge goes after them, they've got the federal judges coming in and stopping the people that meant to be holding them accountable from being accountable. The Dems have done a brilliant job of insulating themselves. Wow. And what we're seeing right now is the Trump administration desperately trying to dismantle it. But you can't do what you did with the Epstein files and have the backing of the American people moving forward and the trust of the American people moving forward, all right? Which is, it was such a, I don't think they truly understand what a blow that was, because Americans are like, change it up. Change it up. Oh, it's the same thing all over again.
Somebody didn't read what we were talking about today, because we're going to talk about the Epstein.
We'll get there.
I totally did. I totally read it.
He's like, I was just teasing you guys.
That's a segue.
Okay.
You know, right?
Well, we're not getting to it next.
It's a
so
setup.
save the segue. Thank you very much. Okay. On that note, we're going to take a break. Marsden's in trouble. We're going to take a break. I want to thank our sponsor this segment, Qualia Life. So, you know, aging sucks. I'm going to just be honest with you. Not that I would know anything about that, because I'm 29 forever. But here's the thing. If you want one of the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade, you need to check out Qualia Senolytic, because a big culprit behind that, like, middle-aged feeling, you just feel just bogged down. And
don't look at me.
What are you talking about?
Always look at me when you talk about aging.
You're just next to me, so I just glanced over
Eric's
at
over
you.
there as well.
I am.
Oh my gosh! Every time Eric's on the show, he's like, "Well, speaking as the youngest person at the table, let me tell you."
Like at least once a week.
All right, Eric. My gosh. Well, Eric doesn't need it, okay, but maybe you do.
Yeah.
They've got these senescent cells, so they call them zombie cells. They linger in your body after their useful function, and they waste your energy. They waste your resources, and that ends up giving you less energy. You've got slower workout recovery, joint discomfort, and just that, like, I feel old feeling. So you take it 2 days a month, and it's going to help your body naturally eliminate zombie cells to age better at the cellular level. This is a really, really cool breakthrough. I take it. I need to bring you some.
Please
I know.
do.
I know. I need to remind me before we actually get here. And I will, okay? You can go to qualialife.com/unfiltered for up to 50% off of your purchase. Use code unfiltered for an additional 15% off. That is QUALIA life.com/unfiltered for an extra 15% off. So in Donald Trump's, I would say, fight against China and their stronghold on our country, we've talked about the banning of Chinese nationals owning our farmland, which was huge. We talk a lot on the show about how China steals American intellectual property. And I don't know if many people know this. In December of 2023, China actually banned exports of its own IP. So they're like, we can do it, you can't. But it banned exports of its own IP regarding rare earth extraction methods, waste separation methods, rare earth magnet production technology it's like used by companies like Apple and consumer electronics, electric motors for EVs and drones and missiles and radar. And so is pretty significant because China produced 60% of the world's rare earth minerals, nearly 90% of the world's rare earth processing, and 99.9% of America's rare earth processing themselves. So for this country, they were producing almost 100% of America's rare earth processing. And of course, they're weaponizing that control of all of these rare earth minerals and semiconductors to hurt the United States. It's the same. I mean, the same thing could be said for, I don't know, say like a crazy virus takes down all of the world and all of your medication ends up being made in China. And then what happens? Who's hurt? Oh, wait, us, because we can't get our medication. It's crazy to rely on China for things that we really need. And so you had Russia that was weaponizing its control of energy drilling and production in Europe. You had China that was weaponizing the rare earth minerals. And then you had a half-dead president named Joe Biden who didn't do shit about any of this. And then enter President Trump, okay? He, I think, in what his demeanor, in his policies, he clearly has understood the importance of rare earth minerals for our economy and our military. And just to kind of, I'm trying to like back end into what is happening today by giving you the history of what has happened on this particular subject. And so I want to play President Trump arguing with President Zelensky in the Oval Office, explaining why it was important to hold his ground on the rare earth minerals. Watch.
I want to have our money secured because we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars. And, you know, they may make a deal, they may not make a deal, they may be Russian someday, or they may not be Russian someday, but we're going to have all this money in there. And I say, I want it back. And I told them that I want the equivalent, like $500 billion worth of rare earth. And they've essentially agreed to do that. So at least we don't feel stupid. Otherwise, we're stupid.
So to his point, this is something that he has been working on for a while. In March, he signed an executive order to make the United States the leading producer and processor of non-fuel minerals, including rare earth minerals. And on his little fact sheet, it said financing, loans, and investment support will be provided for new mineral production projects, including a dedicated critical materials fund established through the United States International Development Finance Corporation in collaboration with the Department of Defense. And then that the Trump administration would coordinate with the private industries to ensure a stable and resilient domestic supply chain. And I'd just like to say, more promises made, promises kept. Keep this one on the list. Check it off, okay? Because last week, the DOD spent $400 million of preferred stock in MP Materials, which operates the only rare earth minerals mine in the United States. They are now the largest shareholder of the company that owns this. And today, Apple agreed to buy $500 million worth of rare earth magnets from that company, MP Materials. So now Apple is coming to the table, and they don't. I mean, the thing is like, honestly, I'd love to hear if you disagree with my take, Eric. I'd love to hear how. I don't know if you do, but my thing is, I always think that there should be. I know we talk a lot about government pressure, and I don't think that the government, generally speaking, should pressure you into making some sort of business financial decision. But I do think when it relates to the national security of this country and relates to keeping our economy here rather than spending all of our money, subsidizing someone else's economy. I do think it's worth like, hey, we should try to get all of these, like Apple. There's no reason Apple should be going off and spending all of this money and being more reliant on China when we can just partner with private industries and just offer that ourselves. And so now MP Materials is going to expand operations and open a second domestic magnet manufacturing facility. So you've got such a contrast now of, just the prior president, Joe Biden. You had China trying to strangle our military. You had China, trying to strangle our economy by controlling all of this with the rare earth minerals. And Biden was seemingly totally fine with it. And now you have President Trump successfully reducing our country's dependence on China in just one more way. I think that's a win.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know about how exactly they go about it, but I don't think there's anybody that disagrees with the idea that whether it's necessary or not, just for your general economy, it's going to be better for you if you, and again, I'm a pro-trade guy, but I'm not stupid. It's going to be largely beneficial for you to be able to have a somewhat localized economy, at least in some capacity, not to the point to where what we have right now, where a lot of the manufacturing, it's not just with what we consider necessary. Most of the manufacturing for the entire world in almost every industry is done through China, right? That's just the reality of it. And how we got there is more of what I've taken exception to, and I know other liberty-minded people take exception to, and that's what can't get lost in all of this. It's never been about, well, whether or not, it's not. That's not the dichotomy. And if it is, it's more of a false one, whether it's like, well, you either want, you have to have these sort of strenuous policies in order to bring back domestic deals or domestic production. I don't believe that absolutely has to happen or it necessitates it. My argument has been very consistent on this particular subject matter, and the biggest crippler of the American industries is the American government. Yeah. And that's been that way historically, even with Chinese. Like, do people not know? I mean, they talk about all these things, like even semiconductors and things pertaining to computers, and even the more leisure-based stuff, like even toy manufacturing. In your parents' lifetime, most of that was produced in America.
Right.
It was produced in America, right? And it wasn't until the 80s, technically late 70s, but especially 80s going through the 90s, when that just fundamentally changed. And it wasn't just because China unleashed its production and was trading with all these other countries. No, the government got, through fear mongering, was saying, well, you have to have all these rules, and you had this unfair playing field with American production versus Chinese production, where it was illegal to produce things certain ways here. And again, they always did it just like with minimum wage. They always do it in the name of basically fear mongering, saying we have your best interests in mind. But you can import the product from China with them having worse conditions. Right? It never made any sense. So the government is is largely to blame for why we got in this position. So that's really been all I want the American people to understand and learn from. It's you got in this position not just because China is just because reasons. Like, oh, we're China and we don't pay people next to anything. Is that part of it? Does that play part of their advantage? Yes, it does, but that doesn't take care of the transport issue. Do people not understand how expensive shit is to get from over there on these boats? It's expensive. Trust me. I speak from someone that's in the industry. Though we produce all our comics here, I know others that obviously ship them from over, and the boats itself is almost like a wash in terms of its expenses. So even if it's slave labor that they're utilizing, by the time you get it over here, it would have been cheaper to get it here. The problem is that the infrastructure, like with what's happening right now, it's not there. It used to be, and then it just went away. Like, so even if you had the money, and that's always been the hiccup. I talked about this with the toy manufacturing, which is something that we wanted to get in. I could have all the money in the world, I could be the richest man in the world. I can't get it produced in America, not because I don't have the money. It's because the infrastructure isn't there to make it in mass. Yeah. Like, I can get some 3D printer to do like a quantity of 3 or something like that. But if I want to get 10,000 of these things made and painted, you cannot get that done in America. You used to be able to, but you can't anymore. So that's always been the issue. And I'm always going to support, if you're going to free America's economy in any capacity, I'm always for that. The producers need to be able to benefit. We have been getting the short end of the stick, not through just simply trade deficits or whatever you want to call it. We've been getting the short end of the stick because the rules have been unfair and our government set those. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of two things, like ideal things. And the first thing is corruption, right? Because a lot of the times, people go up and, hey, listen, if you can edge this towards me, then, and then that happens. But the second part of that equation is how litigious America is, right?
Yeah, it's terrible, man. Yeah.
Which causes all these laws to be written to protect people from being sued, which is ridiculous. I had an incident in California, for example, where I had an air conditioner put on the roof, right? And I had a guy turn up. He goes, I need to get on the roof, right? And I was like, okay, here's the stepladder. He goes, is that OSHA? And I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
Your stepladder.
Right? And he was like, no, I can't go on there. And then, this is no joke, just tell you this little story. The guy comes along and he says, I need you to put a fence around the air conditioner on the top of the house.
Shut
right?
up.
This is no joke.
Shut up.
And I need a special valve up there, so when you put the Freon in, it needs so. And the guy looked around, he said, so hang on a minute. You want me, this is no joke. The air conditioning guy goes, so you want me to drill a hole through the roof to put a fence around, breaking the barrier, making more problems. He goes, do you know in the next city across, which was Glendale, the next city across, there are massive lawsuits because they were doing that, because they said that, because they didn't want to fall off the roof.
Wow.
And I walked up and down that roof multiple times, blowing all the leaves off. It's just ridiculous. That has to change. By the way, the guy goes, don't worry, I'm going to call his boss. He called his boss. He went, I put his boss's air conditioning in. Don't worry, you'll be okay. And it went away. I hate to say it, but it did. It went away because it was just ridiculous. It was just because they had to do. They're making.
How
they're
many
giving
government-
themselves a job.
Yes, yeah. How many government rules and regulations could you name? There have got to be so many of them where it's like, okay, guys, so instead of being trained monkeys, let's think critically about why you're doing the thing that you're doing. What is it? What is the purpose? What is the goal? Can you trash it? Right? Like it's just like, we do ABC. We must do ABC.
It's all procedural.
It's all procedural.
Yeah, it's
None
all
of it is
it.
like, but should we be doing this? Is this efficient?
But you know, the guy that passed it was a guy that was a 30-year veteran.
Air conditioner.
In the construction industry.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's ridiculous. There's not a problem. By the way, when the guy was walking through my house, he said, no joke. And the guy was walking through my house checking. He went, have you changed the battery on the smoke detector? And I went, and the guy goes, get him out, like that, because he was going to start pulling things in my house. Honestly,
because you weren't up to code.
Because I was. It's just that I think I'd like taken one down to put the battery in and put it back up. But the issue is that it's prohibitive. We said this the other time. It's prohibitive for businesses to start.
Yes.
Because you have to spend so much money up front, and people just go,
like, why even go through that? Like, why did? And that's what. Look, I think people undermine just how bad it actually is, and I can say this as someone that created a business over the last 3-4 years, and watching had to scale it up and everything, and looking at like the shortcomings that we had. Because of government, right? Just to get off the ground. When we built our new facility, all of the bull crap that I had to follow, just codes, and I got to get all these lawyers over to look all this. I got to pay them, of course, to look all this paperwork over. It sucks, man. So I don't blame anybody for I'm willing to bet we've lost a countless amount of would-be potential entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah.
Because they just said, why am I going to go through all of this? Like, look at, you're prohibiting me to enter into this market.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sucks.
And this is supposedly the American way. What people think of, I don't want to speak for you, Matt, but I feel like what people think of when they think of American opportunity and the American way is the exact opposite of what it is now. It's like, no, you're free to go out there and create your own business and do your own thing and pave your own way. And, you've got this low government, less restrictions. Like, that's the American dream. That's American freedom. And unfortunately, it has turned out to be the exact opposite of that. All right, let's go ahead and take another quick break. Matt, you got any more segues for Jeffrey Epstein, or you want to?
See, I'll set it up for you. I'm just saying.
Okay, I just wanted to check. We will get into that after the break. First, we want to thank our sponsor this segment, CBDistillery. So CBDistillery, I love them. I know some people, I think CBD gets a bad rap. Okay, they really do. CBD is not necessarily THC. You're not like getting high or anything like that. But CBD actually works for things like pain relief, for things like sleep. Over 90% of customers of CBDistillery report better sleep with CBD. I'm included in that 90%. It's not just sleep, by the way. They've got targeted formulations for sleep, stress, mood, focus, pain after exercise. They even have CBD for pets, and it's all made with the highest quality, clean ingredients, no fillers, just premium CBD. So if you're struggling with one of those issues, I'm telling you guys, this is plant powered. It's 100% clean ingredients. And again, this isn't THC. I'm not telling you to go smoke a joint. Just go check them out if you are struggling with any of those. For a limited time, you can save 25% off of your entire purchase over at CBDistillery.com. Use promo code Sarah to get that savings. It is CBDistillery.com. So a little bit of an update on the Matt again. Did you want to?
A little bit of an update on the Jeffrey Epstein situation.
A couple different things. Number one, you have Kevin Spacey, who's getting involved in the conversation. Disgraced Hollywood actor. This is awkward. He said, release the Epstein files, all of them. For those of us with nothing to fear, the truth can't come soon enough. I hate to make this about me, but the media already has. Now, this is a guy, remember, he's already been accused of sexual assault. Now, he was that whole thing was really wild the way that played out, but he was ultimately found not guilty. And he said, I flew on Jeffrey Epstein's planes. I was doing business with the Clinton, like actual business with the Clinton Foundation is what he alleges. I guess they did do some actual business every now and then in between all of the corruption that they were doing and engaging in. So he says, my name's on the list, but I didn't do anything and I have nothing to hide on that. And so you have Kevin Spacey speaking out. And then you have Laura Trump, of course, President Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, talking about the release of the Epstein files. And here's what she had to say. Watch.
What would be your advice, given this back and forth, we're just coming off of Turning Point here in Tampa. This was the topic of conversation. What would be your advice in order to take the temperature down on this issue from within the administration?
Well, I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this. And I think that will happen. As it relates to the president, I know that this is probably not his number one thing he's focused on. He's focused on a lot of other important things. We've got this big announcement with Russia going on, I think, as we're speaking right now at the White House. We have, a Middle East, we're trying to get peace over there. We're trying to make sure that Iran's nuclear arsenal is obviously completely decimated. We want to make sure everything is on the right track for this country. I believe that there will probably be more coming on this. And I believe anything that they are able to release that doesn't, damage any witnesses or anyone underage or anything like that, I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later because they hear it and they understand it. So hopefully we see that happen sooner than later. And I guess that would be my advice. But to everybody out there who's all worked up about it, there's no great plot to keep this information away that I'm aware of. I do just believe that maybe it's been slow rolled for reasons that hopefully we understand down the line. And I think we're probably going to get more transparency on it very soon.
From President Trump's daughter-in-law herself, now she has a Fox News show, I believe. You would think that she would not be so blatant to speak out of turn if there wasn't something that she knew that we would be privy to eventually. And it makes you think, you're not getting invited to Thanksgiving, Laura, if you're just speaking out of turn here. I would imagine President Trump would be like, I'm taking enough heat. I don't need my own daughter-in-law jumping in on it. But she chose to say she thinks that there are files that are going to come out. And this is, of course, I don't have time to play it, but this is, after, or I should say, I think this was before President Trump came out and said that there were there was a bunch of stuff that was made up in the files. He said Comey and some others worked to, basically corrupt these Epstein files. So who knows? But I don't know. Matt, do you have another segue?
Well, I mean, what I will say is this, is that, a few weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about actually prosecuting Comey. And I wonder if it's got something to do with that, which would make a lot of sense, right? It would make a lot of sense if they're not releasing everything because they're putting something together. I mean, again, look, I think we need to differentiate between the way it was all handled, which was a complete and utter disaster, and whether or not there is any there. You know what I mean? I mean, they just handled it really badly. We've gone over this 1,000 times, we did yesterday when we were talking about the folder that was given out. They totally didn't need to do that. It was really stupid. It was incompetent.
I don't think, but people keep saying it's incompetent. I don't think that taking a bunch of binders, filling them with
nothing
fluff, right? Putting a cover sheet on each one of those that says Epstein files for your eyes only, and putting that up on the that is a very intentional decision that you make to print those out, to put them together, to hand them to influencers who are in the White House and send them off on their way in front of a bunch of cameras. I don't think that that's incompetency.
Well, I think it is in the sense that they gave them an embargo so they couldn't say anything,
sure,
right? So the reason why I say it's incompetence is because I think that perhaps something was going to be said and something was going to be released. Now, all that is ridiculous. I mean, if you're looking at Pam Bondi and she did that, That to me is incompetence because there's nothing there, right? Whether or not if she knew there was nothing in there, that's bad. If she thought there was something in there and there wasn't, that's bad. So there's no way to dress it up as anything other than a complete cluster, right? But I kind of do think, I think with Cash in there and I think with Dan in there, I've said it over and over again, I think there is something that is going to come down about the Epstein files. I think that I don't know whether they're going to be lulling people into a false sense of security. I mean, you heard what Alan Dershowitz said, and I kind of trust Alan Dershowitz with what he said the other day. You know, he said, I know that there are things there. I know. I've seen it, but I can't say anything. So this is such a mess. But I do want to say this as well. If you are looking from Trump's point of view, because we only see what we're seeing in the media, right? The big things that pop. Oh, we're doing this. But you just outlined in the other section about this rare earth mineral deal. That's a huge thing, right? He's dealing with Russia. He's dealing with Ukraine. He's dealing with Iran. He's dealing with this. And really, in the scheme of things, I do understand that they have a little bit of a priority there. And we don't know if there's like massive threats coming from terrorist groups in the United States. Not that I'm giving them a pass. I'm not giving them a pass. But I think that if you look at Trump in that way, and I've been very critical because I think this has been a disaster for them, but I do understand what he's saying. And she kind of like clarified it to me. You know, she was like, okay, listen, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Something will come out, but it's not on Trump's priority list right now, and I kind of understand that.
I mean, I hope that that's correct. I want to get your thoughts, Eric. Let me go ahead and take a quick break, and then I'm going to give you the floor to give final thoughts here. Want to go ahead and thank our sponsor quickly, Fatty 15. No, I didn't just call you fat. Okay, this is a C15 from Fatty 15. This is the first emerging essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. It's a really cool scientific breakthrough to support your long-term health and wellness. And based on over 100 studies, we now know that C15 strengthens our cells, and it helps regulate sleep. It helps cognitive health. It helps natural repair mechanisms that support our overall health. But it can also lower cholesterol levels, give you a healthier liver function, improve your gut microbiome health, and improve red blood cell health within 3 months. So go check them out. All right. You can go to fatty15.com/Sarah. Use code Sarah at checkout. You can get an additional 15% off, by the way, if you get their 90-day subscription starter kit. It is fatty15.com/Sarah. If you've got high cholesterol and you are looking to help yourself here, I've got the thing for you. fatty15.com/Sarah. Use promo code Sarah. All right, Eric, final thoughts here on the Epstein update.
Yeah, I think it's no secret that they've not handled it well at all. I think this is one of those issues that they can't really run away from. So whatever answers that they have, they're going to have to be forthcoming with that, or just tell the outright truth, because people aren't going for it. You're seeing a lot of the discourse around. They're not going to believe that, mainly because of the information that we have access to already. We know there was that he was charged with conspiracy. We know that Maxwell wasn't the only one that's involved. I don't care. I don't think anybody cares if it implicates or anybody that you were fond of. Doesn't care. Bring the whole damn house down. People want to know if their country is being ran by a cabal of pedophiles.
Yep. And by the way, that's always included President Trump for me.
Absolutely.
I'm like, sure. If
he's on it too, then it is what it is.
Right. If he did stuff with underage girls and you've got receipts, I want to know.
Lock him up.
I want to know. I'm not like discriminatory about that at all. I think they all should be locked up. So, all right, Matt Marsden, Eric July, thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.